This is Avengers Detroit, and if you watched my last video about Spectre, you will remember there was this essay at the start about continuity, and this comic is very continuity heavy, very reliant on you knowing a lot of things. This is the baddie, the robot. He copies other people and their powers. He's a bit like Dittos from Pokemons, and he has gotten all the Avengers captured. Up there is Hatchling, and there is C-3PO, there is Seaman, Darth Knight, Dr. Doom, She-Hulk. This is actually Captain America, but he's been drawn wrong by that artist, that Jack Quimby bloke that can't draw him. And finally, there is Captain Marvel's, the real one, Monica Rambeau. And just before I took into this comic, one of my pet peeves is on a team book like the Avengers, when they have got a cover with all the members on the cover, but they forget or they leave off a member. And this cover and the comic as a whole commits that deadly sin of completely forgetting a member. Because if you just turn to this page, you could see right here, knocked out is Captain Stingray. And he is forgotten about for the whole issue. He's not even on the cover. Right, the story is that the robot that copies things, he has become, in his own words, the master of all reality, which is a lot of reality. And there's some of the Avengers there, Hatchling, Seaman, She-Hulk. What the robot has done to become so powerful is, he has gone and he has found this other thing, and he has copied it. And this is, oh God, this is a cosmic cube that has become a living being. So he's like an all-powerful reality warping deity sort of thing. And the robot, he has just copied all of his cosmic powers, so he's just as powerful now. And there is C-3PO and Captain Stingray knocked out. You see what happened is, at the end of the issue before this one, the two of them walked in on the robot when he had copied this other thing. And the robot knocked out Captain Stingray. It was like the big dramatic cliffhanger thing, where they reveal that he is now all powerful in that. So what's happening is, actually if you look there, you can see that the robot and the Cosmic Cube Man are talking in Cosmic Cube talk. I don't know this language, but if anyone knows what they're saying, can you translate it down in the comments? Because I am interested. The robot, he captures the Avengers in cube constructs that he has made, like on the cover, because this is back when covers represented what was on the inside. And he has also captured Captain Marvel's, the real one, because the cube prisons, they're like made to keep them captive. So like She-Hulk can't smash it with her super strength, or Captain Marvel's can't use her energy powers to get out. And actually, you'll notice, again, when he's capturing the Avengers there, he bloomin' forgets Captain Stingray. And then we have got the robot, he starts to fight the Cosmic Thing, because the Cosmic Thing is the only thing at the same power level as the robot to stop him from taking over all reality. So what happens is the robot just sends the Cosmic Thing inside the largest black hole in the Andromeda Galaxy. From there, he may observe. And then we have got C-3PO and Seaman. They actually recap the story so far. And this is Avengers Part 290. And this story begins as far back as Avengers Part 274. Basically, we see how the robot got found by Fister from the Thunderbolts. Actually, I won't cover all of this because all the extra information would probably only make this more complicated. But you can see the robot tortured Mental Man, and then there was a bunch of other robots, and finally he copied the Cosmic Cube thing and become like a god. This comic, it relies so much on your own knowledge that it is rewarding that way. Like, it doesn't really explain the Cosmic Cube stuff, or even who these Avengers members are, really. So if you were a new reader, and this was like your first issue, you would really be lost with like most of this. Right? You'd be able to follow the basic narrative, just not really what's happening or quite why it's happening. And Captain Marvel's the real one, Monica Rambeau. She is running through every different energy form in the hopes of finding an energy that can override her cage. She doesn't, but this was one of the things that made this Captain Marvel pretty cool. That she had a visually interesting power and that she was quite smart. And then what happens is they manage to use their leverage to get their cages moving. It's a bit silly, really. Like, they're banging each other's cubes together so that they can move. And there's this bit here, right? It's just adding insult to injury. They even show Captain Stingray is still knocked out and he's not even a consideration. Like, why haven't any of them thought, hey, let's try and wake up Captain Stingray because he's not in a cage, he can get us out. But they've just completely overlooked him, just as much as the robot has. And like, it would be really good to say that this was like an intentional oversight and that like Captain Stingray had been excluded from captivity and been forgotten by the team. It would pay off with him like showing up and saving the day, but that doesn't happen. He doesn't appear again in the comic after this. Like, if you were buying Avengers because Captain Stingray is a member and he's your favourite character, this is basically taking the piss. He's drawn twice in the whole thing, face down on the floor. He doesn't have a line of dialogue. He doesn't do anything. He's just passed out for the whole comic. Then we see the robot with his cosmic powers. He has grown big and he is making a whole race of robots like him. And he controls them all, and they can copy things, but I don't think they have his cosmic powers. And what he's going to do is, he's going to have them all copy every human in the world, and then kill all the humans, so he could just replace them with his robot copies everywhere. The art is very good. Then, alright, we have got Darth Knight and Dr. Doom. They were all fighting another baddie in the last issue. What usually happens in the Avengers or the Justice League, sometimes there will be two things going on at once. So the team have to split up, or maybe all the team won't be in the same place when something starts happening. So Darth Knight and Dr. Doom, they're returning to the base and they don't really know what to expect. And bang! Some of the robots attack them. And I actually really like this little part, because even though they're taking unawares, Darth Knight isn't like down for the count. He's fighting and he works out that the robot is copying his sword, so he tries to keep the sword away from him, and then he just stabs them both. Really good, that. The writer of this comic, by the way, the writer is Mark Griswold, and he is honestly my favourite writer in all of comics. Like, I know that is heresy, and most people would say Stanley Lee is the best, but Mark Griswold, he is just great. He wrote the best Captain America, he wrote Kazar, he loves the characters in the Marvel Universe and its history. It's just great. And then the main robot shows up, and he captures Darth Knight and Dr. Doom in the same cube things as the others. And then you can see on this next page, Darth Knight, he tries to cut through the cube with his sword. His sword is magical, it is special, and it's like gift is that it can cut through anything. And the thing is, it cuts through the cube, but the cube just regrows afterwards. I like that. I like that a lot. It doesn't devalue his sword's power. Like, if they just said that the sword couldn't cut through it, that would kind of ruin the sword's power. The idea that it can cut through anything except this one thing, that would ruin it. And the art, I mean, I am a bit biased. I don't like that this artist, he draws a lot of comics. He can't draw Captain America, but like it's the wrong colours and the wrong design. But the rest of the art is really, really good. This Jack Quimby bloke. Look at She-Hulk and Captain Marvel's, the real one. Look at them there. They both look lush, and I tell you what, right? anyone that accuses me of being alt-right or racist, well, of these two here, I must say that Captain Marvel's the real one. Like, if I was having a threesome with her and She-Hulk, she would be like the one that I'd focus on. Not that I'd mistreat or neglect She-Hulk, I'd satisfy them both. But based on this page right here, I am more inclined towards Captain Marvel's, the real one. We cut to space here and we see the cosmic cube thing, who the robot copied and sent away. He is thinking about going back to Earth and using his power to save the day. But he has always tried to not interfere with events. He's kind of like a benign cosmic power. So we have some of his like philosophy and his dilemma about whether he should return to stop the robot. What he does, this is quite a classic thing for these sorts of cosmic gods who reckon that they don't interfere much. He decides not to do anything himself, but he will go and get Captain America, who is off on his own adventure, and get him to help the rest of the Avengers. And there is Captain America, the best superhero in the world of all time ever, who is drawn incorrectly by the artist. And the thing is, this pisses us off, because look, he can clearly draw Captain America right there. This is the right costume and the right colours. But the rest of the comic, he is drawn badly. I bet that he has traced Stanley Lee's art there. So, Captain America, he gets warped to Detroit and he confronts the robot. And he's like, and the robot's just like, I'm just going to throw you in a cage like the other Avengers, except Captain Stingray, who I've forgotten about. But Captain America argues with him, and I won't just read this out, but it's a good little argument about whether the robots have free will, or if robots are just slaves to programming. And the robot, he gets a bit annoyed and sends one of the robot slaves to kill Captain America and fight him. So we get this fight with Captain America and the robot that copies him. It copies him, and it's good. Meanwhile, Dr. Doom sees Captain America's debate as like upset the robot, so he decides, I'm going to try and do that too. So he starts arguing about whether or not robots have any creativity or imagination and stuff like that. And this would be good if it was like any other character saying it. Like, you know what? Why didn't Captain Stingray wake up and say this? Or Captain Marvel's, the real one. Or Darth Knight, he's actually a scientist and a Jedi Master. But the problem is, right, Dr. Doom, he is actually a character who is a serial rapist. Not at this point, but not long after this one, he uses his mind powers to abuse She-Hulk and Captain Marvel's, the real one, and later on he starts using them again on Spider-Woman. And actually, Tom Brevoort, the awful Marvel editor, he wrote this one awful comic where he had Dr. Doom, he had trapped a woman's soul to be like his personal sex slave. It was fucking awful. So when you see Dr. Doom in all the comics, it's just unpleasant because we all know he's such a bad lad. Captain America, he beats the slave robot, so the big cosmic robot, he shrinks down to prove that Captain America is wrong and that he can beat him in a fight. But what happens is, Captain America, the best superhero in all the world of all time ever, he beats him, not with a punch, but with some stone cold logic. And the robot just collapses because his programming can't understand it. And then we end with all the Avengers free. And the Cosmic Cube God shows up. And he's like, well done. And he takes away the power that the robot copied from him. And the Avengers are left the winners. And as I said, annoyingly, Captain Stingray should be here. Like here or here, like they should have at least had him show up, like holding his head and had him saying stuff like, oh, what happened, or did I miss something? And he could have got it in on this like final image here of the team triumphant. But none of them. Now he's just like, left passed out. And none of them have even considered, what about Captain Stingray? Like, other than C-3PO, who saw him get knocked out, the others just saw him lying face down on the ground. Like, for all they know, he is dead. And they haven't expressed a single emotion or interest in his well-being. But to end on a high note, we have got this letters page, and I fucking love this, right? Look, first up we have Mark's Remarks, which is, or it was, like a little essay that Mark Griswold, he would write every issue. He would talk about how comics are made, what's going on behind the scenes. He would be introspective about his own work. There's a really good one, actually, a really good one where he talks about how he goes about writing an issue of Kazar. But this one here is mainly talking about the sorts of letters that Marvel receive. Then, if that wasn't enough, he's also answering all the mail. Right there, look. Mark Griswold, editor. He wrote this comic, and he's also answering letters and questions about it. Generally, though, he tried to avoid editing comics that he was writing, because he is a professional. He actually wrote a Mark's Remarks about that one, about that idea, actually. But this comic, this is a rare one that he wrote and edited it. And his responses, they're actually quite short in this one, probably because he was busy writing the comic. But usually they're really considerate, and like, if they say they don't like something, he isn't bitter about it. He accepts that. Compare that to Tom Brevoort, who would just call you an idiot or a racist for saying you don't like one of his poorly edited comics. Honestly, this comic was fantastic. I love it. I know it is not for everyone. Like, it works for me because I know all about this robot and the cosmic cube thing and all the backstory. And I love the way that Mark Griswold, he always does stuff with continuity and like tying stuff together. And he really loves the characters, and I just like his writing. I like that even though all the characters, they spend the whole issue in cubes, he tries to give everyone a moment somewhere. Like, you had Darth Knight, you had him fighting the robot, and then the bit with his sword cutting the cube. Then you had Dr. Doom debating with the robot. You had Captain Marbles, the real one. She was trying to short the energy prison out with her powers. Like, it's a shame that there wasn't moments for everyone, like Seaman and She-Hulk, and Hatchling, and C-3PO, and Captain Stingray, of course. They didn't have much to do. Well, actually, wasn't it C-3PO and C-3PO and Seaman? They were kind of like given the backstory. They would discuss the backstory. So I guess if you're writing a team book, that sort of counts. I think if you are writing a team book, you should at least try and give as many characters on the team moments every issue. And as poorly served as Captain Stingray was, to be fair, he did have a really prominent part in the issue before. I just think that he was legitimately forgotten about here. If you take this issue and the issue before it into account, then every character on the team has a moment. Just when you single this one out, some of them come up short. Actually, Hatchling, I don't think she even had a line of dialogue in the whole thing. I can't see any. Yeah. Well, that's a shame. I'm not trying to make excuses because I obviously really like the writer, but again, in all fairness, Hatchling, she had a really big part back in that story with Mental Man, and the next 3 issues are all about her and Seaman, actually. So, like, while she doesn't have out to do here, she's at least getting plenty in the other ones. So to conclude, I don't think I can recommend this comic, and the reason is that I think a lot of people, especially if you just read this single issue, you wouldn't have a clue, so you wouldn't really enjoy it. But I fucking love it. I rated the highest rating possible, 7 thumbs up.